Legendary status. VicXL. Sam Pizza, aka TF. Where y'all gonna learn, man? You can't stop what's inevitable. It's the incredible. PZ, AKTF, dropping jewels, but they edible. I ate my vegetables, but he ate my spinach. Riding with Vic again, so no, we ain't finished. Legendary status, so no, you cannot copy. Riding dirty radio, so crispy, also sloppy. Instant to the street, so we know just what is needed. But keep it underground, staying down, cause we ain't greedy. This is where you find what is popping for the culture, where we keeping it all fresh and stay away from all the vultures. No scavengers here, just keeping it real. Vic got it out the mud, but it's still so clear. So sit back, relax, and just let us lead you. If you trolling for no reason, then we don't need you. It's VicXL, he can't be stopped. Riding dirty forever, the home of real hip-hop. Ride dirty, dog, and y'all can't harm me. I'm living fly in the sky with the stars. Ride dirty, ride dirty, ride dirty, ride dirty. Ride dirty, dog, and y'all can't harm me. I'm living fly in the sky with the stars. Ride dirty, ride dirty, ride dirty, ride dirty.
What up, world? It's VicXL. This is the Ride Dirty Show. We bridge the gap between hip hop and everyday life. And this evening, I got a very, very special guest. Let me get my hat right. I feel like I've been slapped upside the head. And tonight, we're going to be talking about slapping upside the head. But we have a very, very special guest. But before we get into it, the first thing I want to do is encourage everybody to make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all leave me plenty of comments. Make sure you share the show. All right? Subscribe, like, comment, share. It's absolutely free to do that. All right? Subscribe, comment, like, share. All right. Now, for everybody who knows, y'all know I'm all about hip hop. I'm all about music, but I'm all about my MMA, my boxing, my professional wrestling. I'm all about creating content and bringing you the movers and shakers of the world. All right. And last night I had an opportunity to watch this amazing event. Shout out to Fubu Sports. Shout out to three-time NBA, NFL Pro Bowler Shawn Merriman, formerly of the San Diego Chargers. And also shout out to Lights Out Extreme Fighting. I was strolling through and I saw this amazing event and I checked it out and I was thoroughly impressed at the action I seen right before me, free on my YouTube. So me being the guy I am, and I seen a gentleman who was definitely part of changing the culture, and I had to reach out to him because he done something super amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Ride Dirty platform, Mr. Walel, the Pharaoh Watson.
How you doing, world? How you doing? How y'all doing? How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing amazingly well. First, before I go any further, I want to tell you I'm very, very humbled for you to accept my invitation to come on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be talking to you.
Oh, likewise. Anytime anybody wants to talk, share the space together, share knowledge, and extend a hand to one another, I'm there, man.
All right, I gotta ask the first thing because I am from the ATL. Well, I'm from Atlanta, but I'm from a small town called Griffin, Georgia, and I tend to tear up names. Did I say it correct? Is it Walel?
Nah, man, it's YL.
YL?
Yes, one of the L's is silent. But my dad made it that way, man.
So YL, the Pharaoh Watson.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm not going to mess it up again. YL. All right, man, the first thing, again, welcome to the show. The first thing I got to ask you, first and foremost, because I know this event last night was in Riverside, California, correct?
Yep.
But where is the Pharaoh from?
I'm from San Diego, man. I was born in Texas, but raised up in San Diego since I was a child. I played my football there. I started my fight career out there. I spent 8 years out there until recently, the last going on 6 years, I met Coach Antonio McKee, and he's from here in Long Beach. And so me and my family relocated out to Long Beach, and I've been training under him ever since.
Okay, now let's rewind. Let's go back. You mentioned coming up in Texas and your athletic career. So one of the questions I was going to ask is, before getting into MMA, did you have a passion for sports? And if so, what were those sports you participated in?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was lucky my parents put me in sports since I was little, man. Since I was 7 years old, I was playing Little League baseball. I played football, basketball. So I was a natural athlete, ran track. That went on when I got to high school. I was doing the same thing. I played football, basketball, baseball. I didn't play a lot of baseball in high school, ran track. And then in college, I played football, played a year of semi-pro football, and then after that, I had nowhere to go. Unfortunately, I was trying out for like arena leagues and things like that, but I was a real small player at the end of the day. I fight at 135, 145, so you can only imagine how that goes as a football player. You're not very big. So my football career didn't go too far, and from there I started fighting, and I've been fighting since 2008, 14 years straight. I've had an up and down roller coaster ride in my career, but the experience, it's priceless, honestly.
Okay. And you mentioned actually last night in the ring about having an up and down roller coaster ride in the fight game. All right. After the football career, what actually made you even gravitate towards fighting? I mean, you mentioned arena football. Why didn't you gravitate towards professional wrestling?
A buddy of mine, Robert Peralta, he played football with me in high school, and he's a guy I grew up with in my neighborhood. He was fighting, and he asked me to come help him cut weight one day. So I went into his gym at the time, and I rolled around with him. And next thing you know, I was on an airplane going to fight a fight in Mexico. So it was just kind of fate, That's the way I look at it. I didn't know I was going to be a fighter growing up. I always thought I was going to be a football player, and when my football career was over, retire and become a football coach somewhere. But God had a different plan for me.
Okay, all right. So once you help your partner cut weight and you're on your way to Mexico, at what point you say, you know what, I enjoy doing this and I want to take this serious and make this a profession?
The first time I stepped in the ring, as soon as I stepped out, it was like nothing I ever felt before. Those butterflies you get in the tunnel before you step out on the football field, it was like that times 10. And I think I've always been a competition junkie and adrenaline junkie. And that was to me is the ultimate test. Every time you step in a ring and they lock you in there, or step in the cage and they lock you in there with another man who's got intention to bounce his shin bone off your face, that's the ultimate test. And, can you negate his game plan that night and implement your game plan? And, it becomes live chess with human beings, and it's a lot of mental when going into fighting. It's not just a physical thing. And I really fell in love with all of it. It was really intriguing to me. I became obsessed with it. And, I've been doing it for 14 years, 365 days a year, honestly.
Okay. Do you remember your very first opponent?
Yes, I do.
Who was your first opponent and what was the outcome?
His name was Henry Cuellar, and he beat me up. He beat me. I did my thing in the first 30 seconds. That's about all I had because I didn't have any serious training yet. I barely came in the gym, and the next thing you know, I'm on an airplane going to fight a dude who's been training his whole life. And I didn't respect fighting the way I do now. I thought it was easy. You see it on TV, and I was that couch warrior like a lot of people are. They just see it and think they know how to do it, and it's simple. And when I got there, I got humbled by that guy. He picked me up, slammed me around, threw me all around, and he ended up choking me out at the end. But I was obsessed, and I became obsessed after that moment. Like I said, I trained every day. I found the best teams to work with. I did everything I had to do. I sacrificed for years, and time it all paid off. I am a 3-time champion, 2-time world champion. I've earned my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've done things in the sport that, I'm very proud of, that a lot of people said I couldn't do because I came in the game, quote unquote, late. I started fighting at 24, where a lot of guys wrestled their whole life, or they did this, they did that, they did karate, they did boxing. I was playing football, I was playing basketball, I was doing things that weren't considered combat sports. So a lot of people laughed at me when I first came into fighting. They were like, you can't do this. And I accomplished almost everything I wanted times 3.
All right, let's talk a little bit about training, especially for those watching this show who might want to pursue MMA. How rigorous is the training to become a professional MMA fighter?
I mean, it shouldn't be rigorous at the end of the day, because if you understand the human body, it can only give you the maximum output for so long, and it's a numbers game, and nobody really knows what the number is at the end of the day. So a lot of time, these young fighters are out here beating their bodies up in the gym, and they're taking years off of their fight career in practice and shit, instead of doing the right kind of regiments. It, as far as what the regimen is, it's up to the fighter and his style at the end of the day. What your style is how you're going to train and how you're going to adapt your body to that particular style. And that's the beauty of MMA. There is no right style. There's no right way to do it. It really comes down to the individual, and you're the artist of your own canvas.
Okay. Now you mentioned you fight at 145.
145, 135.
All right. And what's your height?
5'11".
All right, 5'11", 145. You are very, very thin.
Very thin.
All right, I am 5'6", and I'm over 200 pounds. I would be considered what, a heavyweight?
Oh yeah. You'd be fighting John Jones.
And he would knock my head 2 sections out of the ring.
He's not. Mine not right along with you.
I gotta ask, like, first of all, how do you remain so thin? Like, is it a diet? Is your do you come from a thin family? Like, because I can't get thin. I think I was in maybe the 10th grade when I was 145.
Honestly, it's my metabolism. I eat, I train, I eat consistently. I kind of get to eat whatever I want. When I have a fight coming up, I try to eat a little bit cleaner, you know what I mean? So that way, when I do have to cut those last couple pounds, it's not hard on the body. Because I am a skinnier fighter, it's a little bit harder for me to lose weight compared to other people. Or like yourself, you're saying you're heavy, you're walking around 200 pounds. Well, a lot of times you'll be able to cut 30, 40 pounds easy and go fight. Where me cutting, I don't have 30, 40 pounds to cut. I'm going to cut 10, 15 pounds, but it's going to feel like 30, 40 pounds for myself. So, different body style, different body types and things like that in the sport. And that's what makes the sport so intriguing. Is just so many different bodies, tall, thick, strong. Like the guy fought last night, people might look at him and be like, "Oh, that guy's like looks fat," but that guy's he's a representative of the sport. He's a legend. He's been in the game for a long time. That guy, he was a champion at one time too in his career, King of the Cage champion, and he was a threat. He's a guy that could wear you down and lay on you and win the fight.
Okay, I want to talk. We're gonna come back to last night. We're gonna come back to last night. So I got tons and tons of questions. First, I gotta ask this and I can ask you this question because I noticed you are a husband. Okay, so I like asking fighters this, whether you're a boxer, MMA fighter, or a professional wrestler. I've always heard before a fight, you can't get none. Is that true?
I believe in that. I really do. I believe it because at least a week. It takes at least 4 days. Science says 4 days, and I've tested the theories back in the day, and I've felt the results later on in the rounds. You don't got no legs. It's the worst.
So you've got some the day before the fight, and them legs was weak during the fight.
Gone. You don't understand why. You don't understand why. You're confused because you train so hard, and in the gym your cardio's through the roof, and you're like, why I don't have no legs right now?
It's my wife. It was my wife's fault. All right, you mentioned ups and downs in your journey. Let's talk a little bit about some of the downs. Like, what have been some of the downward things for Walel?
I mean, just these L's, honestly, especially in this sport in MMA, and especially in American MMA, when everybody loves a winner, nobody loves a loser, So when you're up, the whole world loves you. You're getting everything. You're getting the pay. You're getting the sponsors. You're getting the interviews. You're getting the ads, the magazine opportunity. You're getting so much exposure. But when you lose, it's silent. You don't hear anything from anybody. Nobody's calling you up for fights. Nobody's calling you up for sponsorships. You're calling for sponsors, and they're like offering you 10% off discount codes. You know what I mean? You're not even getting it. You can't even get a T-shirt from a company sometimes. So that's the ups and downs of the career, and it hurts your heart because we don't get into this just to fight for fun. I mean, some guys maybe do, but I came into this to be a champion, and yes, I am a 3-time champ, but my eye was always on the UFC belt or a Bellator belt, like to be on a major promotion and to win a belt. And I came so close so many times. I fought for the Titan FC belt, and at that time they were considered the third best show in the world. And I fought against the number 2 guy and I lost the belt. And that kills you inside. You put in so much work, so much dedication, and when those fights kill a little bit of your heart. So a lot of times you end up making bad decisions right after that, especially when you don't have the right mentors in your corner, or you don't listen. I blame myself a lot of time. I can't blame nobody else but myself. A lot of times I don't even listen to people. I want to do what I want to do. I want to get out there because I'm a warrior and I want to show everybody I'm going to get back, especially when you get knocked down, because that's how you grow up. You grow up, you get knocked down, you get back up. You don't sit down and cry about it. You just dust yourself off and go. And a lot of times that's not what you need to do in this career. You got to treat it like a business, and you got to strategize and make calculated moves and decisions.
Okay. Let's talk about the ups. I'm sure the ups, you mentioned you've been a 3-time champion. So I'm sure those are part of the ups. What are those championships you held?
I held the championship in UWC, the Ultimate Warrior Champion in Mexico. And at that time, there were really no shows for our weight class at 135. So winning a belt at that show was a major big deal for me. And I was fighting some of the best dudes, especially out there in Mexico. A lot of the guys I was fighting were undefeated at that time. And I beat some really good guys out that time. My other 2 belts, I won the Baja Cage Championship. I also beat an undefeated guy for that belt, and he was a killer. I won the Gladiator Challenge Champion. That's like a show that's been around for a long time, so it was a good belt to own to have from an old, respectable show. And like I said, I've lost some of those other belts to like Titan FC as a belt I really wanted to win because that's another respectable show out there in the world. But that's okay, man. It's part of the game. You win some, you lose some.
Okay, now I've noticed, like, when I watch different organizations, it seems like the records are different. When they compile an MMA fighter's record, how do they do that? Like, do they do every single fight you've done, or is it just for that organization? Like, how do they compile you guys' records?
They do every fight you've done since you were a pro. So
Okay.
it's kind of like your social security record. So it's like that's the thing about MMA. It's not like the NFL where you maybe you have a bad season and then it's 0-0 next year. It's like, nah, since the moment you start fighting professionally, what your record is and what your record is. So if your record ends up kind of like mine where I'm 15-13, well, you're carrying that for life. You know what I mean? You can't, there's no redo. You don't get to start all over again.
Yeah, I seen a guy last night. His record was like 0-13. I'm like, what? 0-13? But they said he had been fighting for 14 years. I'm like, I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, so I mean, some guys they don't quit, you know what I mean, and my hats off to guys like that because it's hard, I mean, it's easy to just step away when you're not getting no W's. It's easy. I could have easily stepped away these last couple of years in the same boat. I've seen guys step away sooner than I have, as soon as things didn't start going their way. So I could understand where they're coming from, but I don't know how to quit. I'm not a quitter. I wasn't raised that way. I don't come from a bloodline of quitters. So I just kept moving forward until, I got the result that I've been looking for. And, now the kind of ball's back in my court and I kind of get to, make more decisions based on my terms again.
Okay. All right. Now, I also noticed when I was checking you out on Instagram, you're a coach. Let's talk about coaching, and like where you coach, what you coach, and how detailed you get into that.
Yeah, so I'm the jiu-jitsu coach for Antonio McKee at Team Body Shop, and I'm his assistant for his amateur MMA team. And it's a honor, honestly. It's an amazing experience. You get to, help mold and shape other young men and women's dreams and help them achieve it, whether they want to become professional, amateur, or they just want to get in shape or they want to protect themselves. I started training some children that have been getting bullied at school and things like that, helping them get more confidence in themselves. And, I hate bullies. I used to stick up for kids. That's kind of what started me in fighting in general. My whole life was my first fight ever as elementary school kid was defending a kid against a bully. And I got beat up, but I learned. I learned that day on, like, yo, like I'm never gonna let nobody get punked if I'm standing there. I'm gonna stand up for him. If it means I'm gonna take the beating for him, I'm gonna take it for him, and that's the way I've always lived my life.
Okay. Now I also noticed because I'm all on your Instagram while you fighting last night. Well, you know what? I'm lying. Your fight didn't even last long enough for me to be on your too long. But I'm on your Instagram and I noticed pictures with one of my favorite fighters of all time, Rampage. And I also
Oh yeah.
noticed Rampage be clicking like on some of your pics. Do you have a personal relationship with Rampage Jackson?
So I'm his son's jiu-jitsu coach slash MMA coach at the moment. He's on the amateur team. And yeah, man, it's an honor. Like I tell Rampage that all the time. He's one of the reasons why I'm even fighting. I remember ditching school when I was little, just so I could watch the pride fights overseas during our school hours. And just to be in the same presence as him, and now to be training his son and to be helping his dreams come true, it's truly an honor, man. And it's crazy how the game will go full circle and like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Does he ever wear the chain when you're around?
No, but his son does now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
He's carrying the tradition.
All right. How did the name the Pharaoh come about? It sounds like you want to be a rapper.
Well, my first fight name was the Gazelle, but I didn't choose the name. It was kind of given to me. And so when I left San Diego, everybody here in Long Beach and LA was making fun of me. They're like, man, we're not calling you that. We're not calling you that. We're going to find a new nickname for you. So they're all looking for a new nickname for me. And I'm part Egyptian. So once the team found out I was part Egyptian, they started calling me King Tut or the Pharaoh. And then the Pharaoh just ended up sticking at the end.
Okay, no doubt. Now, being an MMA fighter, how hard is that when it comes to being a father and a husband?
It's hard because what I mean, I want to be there for my kids, and when you're a fighter, a lot of times you got to be selfish. And earlier in my career, it was easy to be selfish. I turned down relationships, friendships, birthday parties, celebration. You know what I mean? I remember at one point for 4 years straight, I didn't celebrate anything. I didn't care what it was. It's like I lived under a rock for 4 years straight. All I did was eat, sleep, train, eat, sleep, train. I didn't care what was going on all around me. And you can't do that when you're a father and when you're a husband. You got to be there for your children. You got to be there for your wife, especially, when you got two little boys and they're little athletes just like me. It's in their blood. It's pulsating in their blood. They're active, and I got to be there for them. So I'm there for them as much as I can. And I got an amazing wife who does a lot for me, so that she allows me to live my dream. So I could coach and I could train at the same time, where I'm not just only coaching, I'm not just training, where I could be there. I'm gone most of the day, but when I'm there, I make sure I'm there. I make sure I'm alert and they have my attention. And so I'm giving them, all of me. I'm just not just there on my phone or just, it's only hi, bye, kids. Now, when I'm there in the house, I'm there with them, engaged, playing with them, whatever it may be. And I try to take them with me to the gym as much as possible and just bring them around to the fight scene and, have them as much as in my life as I can, because I want to be an active role in their life.
Okay. Would you encourage your kids to fight?
I wouldn't encourage them to fight, but if they want to fight, I'll definitely back them up in it. I mean, I'll back them up in anything they want to do in life, whatever it may be. If they want to be an engineer, they want to be an astronaut, they want to be a painter, whatever they want to do in life, I'm going to tell them to do it 110%. That's all I'm going to ask of them. Whatever you do, I don't care what it is you do in your life, just do it 110%. You'll always have my support.
Absolutely. All right. In being a fighter and taking a loss, how much does that affect one's mental health?
Man, it affects it a lot. It affects it a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of times, a lot of us need, sports psychology afterwards or something. Some of us self-medicate, and that's not the way to go about it a lot of the times. A lot of us get lost in the self-medication, honestly. And, I was even a victim of that at one point, especially being in the UFC. You're on such a high pedestal and you have such high expectations, and so do other people of you. And when things don't go the way that you planned, and no matter how hard you worked, and because it wasn't God's plan, a lot of times you slip through the cracks and you fall and do things you're not too proud of.
Okay. At this point in your career, who do you feel like who have you been across that ring from, your biggest opponent?
Probably my biggest opponent is gonna have to be TJ Dillashaw. You know, a lot of people think that he's the greatest bantamweight of our time. I'd have to beg to differ, but you know, that's what everybody's opinion is, and I'm not gonna have to respect everybody's opinion at the end of the day. So yeah, man, that's probably the biggest name, quote unquote, that I've fought in the ring or in the cage.
Okay. Also, I'm also a big professional wrestling fan, and I know when it comes to mixed martial arts, there's a large amount of honor. Do you think because there's so much honor, it keeps some of the showmanship out of it? Like you've seen fighters like Rampage with the chain and the howl. McGregor does a large amount of talking. Tito Ortiz used to do the shovel, but for the most part, it's a bow and it's not a lot of showboating. Do you think that comes from just the honor in the actual aspect of fighting, or why don't you think we see much showboating in mixed martial arts?
I feel like that. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of us mixed martial artists, we relate to more being like samurais, more being more like ninjas. So we're way more honorable. I don't hate on anybody who's got the showman. You know, my hat's off to them. If I could do it, I would do it. It's not me, unfortunately, and or fortunately, however you see it. You know what I mean? However your cup of tea may be. But that's what I feel like. A lot of times, most of us that get into mixed martial arts, we see ourselves more as samurais. The samurais are quiet warriors. We're quiet storms. We don't come in and do all the rah hooping and hollering. And I feel like that's why a lot of times the ones that do get more attention and then they get to make more money and get more opportunities like that. But like I said, I'm not hating on them. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do in this world to make your money.
Okay, definitely. All right, man. Before I let you go, we got to talk about Shawn Merriman, Lights Out Extreme Fighting, the organization, your fight last night. Let's talk first of all. How did you get linked up with Lights Out Extreme Fighting?
So I got my buddy Jason Manley. He's a good friend of mine. We've been training partners on and off for about 10 years. He offered me the fight. Marvin Garcia's opponent fell off last minute. They needed somebody. They knew I was always active. Like I said, I'm always in the gym training and teaching guys. So they asked me if I was ready to go. I said I was ready to go. So the next thing you know, I'm in there.
How'd you feel last night when everybody was like, Marvin? Because you were definitely the underdog last night.
Oh yeah, man. I'm used to it. I fought in Mexico for 2 years where I'm the American in Mexico. You know what I mean? They don't want the American to win. And before my time in Mexico was up, I was their adopted son, they would call me. I was a Tijuana adopted son. I went from having 8,000 booing me and throwing things at me to 8,000 cheering me on. So I feed off of that kind of energy. It doesn't bother me at all. Honestly, I don't even hear most of it. I just focus on the opponent in front of me. You know what I mean? I just lock on to him. I'm just focused on what he wants to do and not letting him do the things he wants to do to achieve his goal. And that was it, man. It was just game time. I was focused last night.
All right. After last night's amazing, what was it? 54 seconds? What was the time?
It was, I think it was like 54, 53 seconds, something like that.
All right. After 53 seconds, surely Lights Out Extreme Fighting have already hit you on the phone and put you on card number 9 or number 10.
There's things in the works. I don't want to start talking about nothing yet because I want to focus on these guys I got fighting this week that are coming up, and it's not about me right now; it's about them. So after that, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with myself and my career. But for right now, I just got to focus on these young men that I got.
All right, was that your first experience with that organization?
Yes, it was. It was.
What was the rollout like for you? How did you feel about working with them on that?
Oh, I'm excited, man. Honestly, I'm excited. I've heard great things about them in the future too, and I hear there's a lot of opportunity to come. So I'm excited. I'm real excited because Shawn Merriman is one of my favorite football players. I'm a Chargers fan coming up from San Diego, so it was amazing. It was cool to be there and to be honored by somebody that you looked up to. So it was really cool.
Okay, all right. Well, sir, again, I thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
It was amazing watching all 54 seconds of you.
Thank you.
I ain't gonna lie, me and my wife was watching, and we both said he's going to beat that guy. And yes, I apologize to Marvin Garcia because I felt like he's overweight. He's not gonna. The slim dude is gonna do him something bad, and yeah, you did him something bad. But
thank you.
He had a large amount of honor after the fact, I'm like, dang, man, I wouldn't be shaking his hand. He just did me in 54 seconds and everybody calling my name. But I know that's the honor in the sport. Again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. Much success. And anytime you want to come on my platform to talk about training, anyone you're fighting, anything coming up, mi casa, su casa.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's Mr. Walel, the Pharaoh Watson. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Walel, the Pharaoh Watson. Y'all know I might put y'all in something. If you don't get right and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, share the show. All right, it's your boy VicXL, Riding Dirty Radio. Y'all know the channel. Y'all know the vibes. Till next time, we gone. Peace.
Legendary status. VicXL. Sam Pizza, a.k.a. TF. Where y'all gonna learn, man? You can't stop what's inevitable. It's the incredible.